And fuel-saving technology. Volkswagen plans to introduce its first electric car, a Golf, into the South African market next year. It was one of the major manufacturers affected by those strikes that ended earlier this month. Well, the MD, David Powels, joins me now. Great to have you with us, David. Let's start with the strikes. General Motors, the MD, saying it's left a bad taste in boardrooms across the world. Explain how you felt it.
Yeah, clearly a 7-week strike. If you take the two parts of the strike, a 3-week OEM strike followed by immediately by a 4-week supplier strike, a 7-week strike to companies that by now are part of global supply chains will clearly have implications. Perhaps those implications were underestimated, but all OEMs in South Africa don't only produce now for the local market, we produce for export markets. The export markets that are dependent on products from our market. And a 7-week disruption of a supply chain for overseas markets, of course, is very significant. So there is a lot of sensitivity about the issue at the moment. The question or the challenge for the industry and the other stakeholders, the social partners and government, is what do we do about the situation? Do we carry on lamenting about it? Or do we put our energies together and start working on a plan on how we're going to make things better going ahead?
So does that mean engaging with government? What about better relations with the trade unions? That seems something that should be on the cards.
Yeah, I think it goes beyond better relationships. It goes into some core issues. Some issues that revolve around the suitability of the labour legislation for further industrialisation and job growth in the country. Some of the issues arise out of attitudes. And we have to work on those. Some of the issues, I guess, arise out of misunderstandings of the implications of what it really is to be part of a global supply chain. So there's a lot of work to be done on numerous fronts by multiple stakeholders. The industry on the one hand, the social partners being the trade unions, and also government.
The unions say that they have every right to strike, and that doesn't only happen here, it happens all over the world. Also, I understand this agreement signed will now last for 5 years. So you know, a bit of pain now, but pleasant relations for the next 5 years. Are labour relations still a big red flag to you? Because it does seem like they are to a lot of business leaders.
Yeah. I think first of all, just for clarity, we have a 3-year agreement. We've signed a 3-year agreement in the OEMs with the trade union, as well as a 3-year agreement on the supply chain, not a 5-year agreement. Coming back to the issue of right to strike, we fully understand and respect, as let's call it the capital part of the equation, that there is a right to strike. The question is whether a 7-week strike is sustainable, and that we can sustain our role as being part of the global automotive industry with a 7-week strike. One can't say every 3 years we run the risk of a 7-week strike. That's simply not going to be tolerated because of the disruptive nature of that on the global supply chains. So I think it's less about do we have a problem with the right to strike? Clearly we don't. Strike is an acceptable instrument. A strike, unfortunately, tends to be a blunt instrument. And a 7-week strike is an extremely blunt instrument. And unfortunately, when blunt instruments are used to extract results, everybody tends to suffer. There are no winners.
Does your reputation really suffer? You know, the unions are saying BMW is just posturing. But are there people in the world saying, my Volkswagen is late and not understanding that that's because of strike action in South Africa?
Yeah, I'm clearly not in a position to comment on the BMW situation. I don't think they're posturing. Global companies don't behave like that. They report facts and decisions. I don't think they posture generally. But specifically the Volkswagen situation, we've been here for more than 60 years. We've lived through good times, we've lived through bad times. We have a long-term interest in South Africa. We're not going to make any rash, quick decisions. But clearly the situation is of concern. We have had in our business a major disruption of products flowing to key strategic markets, being the UK and Japan. And that is of course of concern to our head office. But I think the approach that we have to adopt, and certainly the approach that we as Volkswagen want to be part of, is how do we try and fix the problem going ahead. We can't simply say, don't worry, we have a 3-year period, we're going to have a relatively stable industrial relations for the next 3 years, and in 3 years' time we can see that we do a better job. I think we've got to take a much more profound look at the situation and work.
Will that include possibly threats to government, that if you don't change things, we will leave?
I think threats are not a threat like that would also be an equally blunt instrument. So I don't think that's going to be effective.
So you will engage. Honestly, BMW said it was thinking of building a new model. It's no longer doing that. Did you have any plans in the pipeline that may be affected because of what's happened?
Our situation at Volkswagen is slightly different in the sense that we're midway through our current product that we've invested for. Products generally have a 7-year life cycle. We're halfway through that product life cycle. The discussions with regard to a replacement product that will come at the end of this current product's life cycle are about to start. And clearly the recent events will, to some extent, weigh on that discussion. I think more importantly is that we as an industry working with the other stakeholders can show through our actions, not through our words, but through our actions, that we have a better chance of returning the industry to a more stable labour relations footing going ahead. I think that's going to weigh more heavily on the future decision than just the last 7 weeks.
All right, so we'll see how this engagement goes with government.
Yeah, that has to yield results, and I think there has to be some sustainable engagement. They can't be a round of talks. I think they have to be followed up with real tough engagement, constructive engagement over many weeks, many months, and possibly even a year or two to make sure that we create a better basis for the future in the next round.
All right, well, I appreciate your candidness. Let's talk quickly about the show. You're launching a Golf, I understand, the first electric VW in South Africa next year. But are we ready for that? Because you have to plug it into all these charging stations and things.
Yeah, I think to start off, Volkswagen Group at a global level has invested tremendously in alternative mobility, alternative drivetrains. To some extent, we brought some of those technologies to South Africa with the Blue Motion and Blue Motion technology derivatives of current products. The step of bringing a full electric vehicle is a much more serious step. And I guess ultimately for all the motor companies, two or three key questions have to be answered before you bring an electric vehicle. First of all, is the product available in a right-hand drive format? Most of the worldwide automotive production is left-hand drive. Right-hand drive is a minority, so not every product is available in right-hand drive, so that's the first question one has to answer. The second question one has to answer, is the offering acceptable and meaningful for the consumer?
So you will basically test the market.
Yeah, and the third issue, apart from is the consumer interested, is the infrastructure in the country at such a level that it enables the efficient and effective use of an electric vehicle. So from our point of view, the introduction of the electric Golf next year is a trial, and it's to answer those second two questions. The first question is answered by itself. It is available in right-hand drive, and we have to test the suitability and the demand from a customer point of view, and also whether the infrastructural situation in South Africa develops fast enough to enable the effective and efficient use of electric vehicles.
All right, thank you for your time this evening. We appreciate it. David Powels from Volkswagen, the MD, Volkswagen South Africa. That's